talking to the camera or talk to you?
Hi, we're at the near Dark Fest in Oakland. We're with Medusa Stare from Seattle. Okay, let's talk about your latest recording. Your recording sound was really professional and excellent. What was it recorded? Who was it recorded by?
We recorded with Stan Wright of Buzzer House Studios at the Map Room in Portland. Stan's in Arctic Flowers, and he was in Signal Lost and Death Threat. Yeah.
Cool. Your sound and inspiration. Who are you inspired by, and what are your message?
I'm inspired by early 80s anarcho-punk, cross, conflict, Poison Girls, mostly inspired by Vice Versa. I hold a lot of my lyrics embody a lot of the sentiments that were relevant to those bands that I still feel are relevant today. I kind of add more of a personal touch to them now, less of something like a theory paper and more like personal politics, but the sentiment is still very there and relevant. And for me, that's where my influence comes in. But we have a mix of other influences going on, so I sing, my name's Taryn, and I'm going to pass the mic to whoever's next.
I'm very inspired by the Chameleons and The Cure, and Susie is my ultimate favorite.
Definitely. Oh, I'm Lito. I think that I definitely am inspired by Crass, like Taryn said, Poison Girls. I listened to a lot of L7 when I was really young, which is what got me into playing guitar, and also the Ventures, believe it or not.
Hi, I'm Sasha. I will also echo everyone in saying Crass has been a big influence, as well as I'm inspired by a lot of Indigenous artists, like Buffy St. Marie was a folk singer, a native folk singer, still native folk singer that got big in the 60s and 70s. She's a big inspiration, as well as like Bikini Kill and Susie and just like stuff like that. Hey, I'm Amanda. Inspired by all sorts of things, punk particularly, yeah, forever rock and roll of course. Medusa Stare though particularly was such an amazing project because we all came together not based on influence of music genre, but based on underdogs of punk, people that have been involved in the scenes, booking shows, doing, hosting bands, being part of the community, anarchism, DIY, but never really have been in bands. So inspiration for that is like deep, passionate individuals and souls that are coming together to like create the world we want to live in through this vessel that is punk rock.
Okay, in Seattle, you posted the anarchist bookstore, and you have punk bands playing there at the anarchist bookstore. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Left Bank Books is one of the longest running anarchist bookstores in the country. It's been around for 40 years. And the show that Jay's talking about, Flower, who just played this fest downstairs, who fucking killed it, played that tiny little bookstore in Pikes Market in Seattle. This shit's still happening. It's still happening. Yeah, it's the oldest bookstore in North America that's been happening. We're really lucky to have that in our community, to be such a solid set. And it's in a very touristy spot of Seattle. And one good thing about it that I always find interesting is there are some bounce checks from Courtney Love stapled onto the ceiling because her money was no good. But yeah, we're really lucky to have that as a stronghold in our community.
What's the Seattle scene like?
It's dead.
What about the grunge scene?
Yeah, the grunge scene.
No, Seattle scene's cool. It's very sort of splintered and fragmented, so there's lots of sort of smaller scenes across the city that don't always intersperse with one another, but there's still just different genres of punk happening at the same time, and on the rare occasion that those do crossovers are usually larger shows. My favorite was probably Negative Approach most recently.
Mystic Priest.
Mystic Priestess.
Yeah, Mystic Priestess. Yeah, like Alan said, just to kind of echo that, the punk scene is very fragmented there. It's not necessarily politically charged or aligned with anarchism in any sort of way. Feels like politics and punk rock, from my experience in Seattle, is two different things, and we're trying to bridge that, and there's a lot of other bands that are trying to fill that gap, but as a whole it's pretty fractured and segmented. Like if you're North Punk, you're South Punk, you're the Hill Punk, it's definitely very like neighborhood and centrally. There's not a lot of unification that goes on, and as our neighborhoods are getting more gentrified, it seems like it's changing. It's definitely in flux right now. So
I would like to add that I feel like it is starting to. There are shows that are happening where there's a little bit more unity happening. I would like to see a lot more of that, and I would love to be a part of helping create a community like that.
It's challenging in Seattle because a lot of the main music venues are really sort of at risk of closing down just because of gentrification and development. So there is a constant challenge of us trying to find other spaces to play and bring together people as a community. And so we most recently Amanda did a matinee show with the Ire.
So we got a lot of shows. Yeah, it's just finding a spot that will do it and making shit happen, creating the world we want to live in. So this was a matinee show in Georgetown, had it be a benefit also for Racist Texas, had a vegan bake sale involved, and shit will happen if you make it happen. So don't give up, even amidst of gentrification and like a thriving fucking like buzzing Amazon city, like can still make it happen. Find the fucking houses, do it.
also, I'd like to say that I think that a big part of what Medusa Stare wants to do is sort of create space and bring more like anarcho-punk, queer punk, indigenous punk to we're on Duwamish land, and to have more indigenous folks involved in the scene, more I think there are new bands popping up in Seattle that are doing really awesome stuff and important work, queer punk and indigenous punk is going to come up, I think, and start, and I hope that we are helping facilitate that. And there's some good bands. Kari's in another really rad band called Plexi that we love, and there's some good stuff in Seattle. It is fragmented, but stuff is happening, and it's rising, and I'm happy about that.
We will never!
Divided. Okay, last month you played at the Anarchist Gathering in Berkeley. How did you like that?
Oh my god, so fun.
We loved it.
That show was pretty life-changing for me. I've always wanted to play Gilman. It's been a lifelong dream. I got my opportunity. It was nice to play a show of a mixture of different types of bands, really young punks, hip-hop artists, hip-hop, indigenous, thrash, crossover, fashion show, spoken word. There was a class taught by one of the original Black Panthers, which was very interesting and eye-opening. And my favorite part was playing with Iconoclast.
I loved that experience and feel such a huge gratitude for being a part of that fest, and that fest felt really important as an Indigenous person. And yes, thank you, Jay, for having us. That was so incredible. I was emotionally moved in a big way to be in a room with other Native artists in the punk scene, in the anarchist scene. That was life-changing for me. And to see really rad bands alongside Indigenous artists like Mystic Priestess and Bastet. It was an incredible experience, one that I'm so happy to be a part of. That fest was really good. I have a nostalgia for fests like that incorporates so much just because I am from Southern California, and Jay's been such an influence on my life since I was 15 years old, and going to shows and fests at the Anarchist, Black Cross, the Houses, Coos Cafe, the Hill Festival in 2000, and Jay's always been a solid stone and rock in this community, merging things like that, gang truce, bringing in, the Panthers to speak and aligning that with punk rock, having shows at the Black Panther headquarters back in the day. So it was really good to have and be able to experience that again at 37. It was awesome. And then amongst to have like my friends see somebody that was so influential in my life and play something like that, I was like just stoked the whole fucking time.
Okay, we're in Oakland. How do you like this punk scene in Oakland? And what are the difference from here in Seattle? Because I know each state is like different in scene-wise. Does anybody want to?
I definitely think that the scene here is a lot more organized and comes together in a way that Seattle might not, and that Seattle is trying to do. I think that every time we're down here and we play, I feel like I'm taking notes on like what I would like to try to do in Seattle.
I love Oakland. Bunch of grimy ass rockers making shit, doing things, making it happen. Like Oakland punks, fucking killing it. Thank you.
I feel like what Oakland is to me is just a big shout out to Seattle to be better.
Yeah.
How are we doing time? Okay. Tell us the difference between scene from the 90s to 2019. What are some accomplishments and changes you see?
I think that we've finally gotten rid of Carhartt as a fashion choice, and there's much more amazing artists that are making jewelry and clothing and really kind of pushing fashion forward. And a thing that Lido is working on that we're hoping to do in Seattle is sort of try to cross the drag and punk scene, because I think that those really intertwine with each other from a punk rock level and a fashion sense. So me being 44, I feel like the scene's kind of gotten a little less political, but people are really starting to be recharged with the current political climate and really kind of bring those ideas back and try to push those forward.
Yes. Hey, Mary and Chris, stop. And Chris, with the number. Okay, what do the members do outside of the band? Who wants to go first?
I am a fashion stylist.
I work part-time in a coffee shop, and I also do sex work.
I'm a house cleaner and I'm a student for sonography, which is ultrasound, and yeah, I'm just going to school for sonography to better my life. That's what I do.
I'm a hairdresser by trade and also an educator in that realm. Also, I study herbal medicine.
I'm a poet and a writer, and yeah, that's what I do.
I am a bike mechanic that specializes in cargo and electric bikes, I guess. Also play in other punk bands and been in collective projects around Seattle for like over a decade.
Alright, I understand a couple of the members from Medusa Stare came to New York Dark Fest last year. Tell us the difference with New York Dark Fest and other festivals or other punk shows. What's the difference between that? And how do you like it so far?
Near Dark is special. I mean, I feel like we share the common grounds of being punks or anarchists, but also goths, so it's like way feely. The dance style is a lot more fucking freaky.
I think the big thing that stands out to Near Dark for me is that it seems the two people organizing it are both women with lives and busy lives, and they continue to do this awesome thing to take time out of their lives to bring this community together. And the bands that they pick are pretty socially conscious, and they have that A circle at the bottom of their symbol for a reason. And I think the fact that it's being headlined by women definitely makes this fest stand out for me.
I also play in Arcane, and we played the fest last year. And to me, the difference is there felt like a lot of more anarcho-punk bands, but crossed with electronic music, which was a nice crossover.
We all came last year as an attendee, and it was amazing, like so inspired. We went back to Seattle fucking inspired, and to be able to play it this year is such an honor. Thank you.
What's touring like for other people who never toured before who are watching this? Like, do you learn anything, or
that people smell really bad
at shows?
and in the band.
I still love touring. I still love finding the kids that remember what touring was like, and when you show up at their house and they still have a meal made for you and a bed to lay in, like that really speaks a lot for our community, because that is what we're trying to do, is really kind of take care of each other. And so that really goes a long way for me, for when people sort of do go that extra mile and try to do those things.
I've toured a lot in my life, and I definitely find that as I grow older, touring gets a lot harder. There's things like chronic pain that starts to kick in that makes your days just it's not as easy for me, but I'm inspired by what I see, and it's there, and it's something that I'm glad to have always been a part of, that's always been influenced in my life, and it's something that I'll continue to do probably until I'm broken, and I'm breaking, so we'll see.
Tour is hard. It reminds you that sometimes you have to eat Taco Bell on the road and then hate yourself, but there's also a lot of really beautiful rewards traveling across the country and going to different communities and meeting different folks who, like Ellen said, everyone said, open their arms to you and nurture you, open their homes to you, feed you, give you cheap beer, put you up. It kind of reminds you why you're in this, and reminds you that there's a community across the country, across the world that will embrace you, and just kind of reminds you that you're not alone.
We're not alone, worldwide punk rock family.
You have that sound, where you could get anarcho-punk crowd, death rock and goth crowd. Do you also play it at goth clubs and like that?
Do we? We want to. Let us in, goth. I feel like we mainly play punk shows and punk venues and DIY. But yeah, our sound kind of is a crossover of a lot of things, and I think while we hold a lot of common denominators in what we're influenced by, some of the bands that Lito listens to, I've never ever heard. Some of the stuff Sasha calls Alan, I'm so rooted in one genre, and they have so many, and open my mind to music. I'm kind of, I don't know a lot about goth and death rock. I was always more of a punk rocker, and so our sound just kind of comes together because we all have such a variety of influence. But we mainly play DIY venues or punk clubs, but we'd like to be playing some goth clubs and death rock clubs for sure. Anybody else?
You also did recently you did a full studio recording, and you could get it on Bandcamp. What's the future project for the band? Any future project coming up or anything like that?
We are on Bandcamp and Spotify. Please follow us. We have released a cassette. I really want to hopefully put that out on vinyl. I really hope to do a split with our fellow sister band Mystic Priestess, who we absolutely adore. And for me, I'm hoping to pull Arcane out of the grave, and maybe we'll do a split with them also.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you very much. Medusa Stare from Seattle. Check them out at Bandcamp.